The next item, Commissioners, is number 3, an application for a certificate of appropriateness at 10 Richmond Road in the Douglaston Historic District, docket number 15-7412, block 8020, lot 6, a colonial revival-style house built in 1966. The application is to legalize repaving the driveway, sidewalk, and gutter, enlarging and repaving the front walkway, rebuilding the entrance steps, and rebuilding the driveway retaining wall without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lisa Schaefer, Preservation staff. 10 Richmond Road was built in 1966, and it is not considered a contributing house in the historic district. This application is to legalize work which was performed without permits, including rebuilding the driveway retaining wall, which this is the designation photo, so there was an existing wall that was rebuilt similar, though they added some additional stone. It was originally all brick. The driveway was also repaved. Originally it was, I believe, concrete or asphalt.
It was slab, concrete slab.
Okay, so it was concrete, and they are using concrete pavers. The entrance steps and path were also rebuilt, and you can see they were originally brick steps with a concrete path, and they are now, I think they're also brick with bluestone treads, and the path is also the concrete pavers. Also, the path was widened a bit, and in addition, the gutter, originally you've seen these cobblestone gutters before in Douglaston. They did rebuild or reconstruct the gutter. It's still cobblestone, and they added a curb to it, which this was the condition previously. And in addition, they also repaved the concrete sidewalk, which, excuse me, in Douglaston, historically the sidewalks were tinted beige, so that's what we have been approving for sidewalk replacement. However, this sidewalk was replaced with a standard untinted color, which you can just see the neighboring sidewalk in comparison to the new sidewalk. So those are all the items that are being proposed for legalization. And the owner is here if you have any questions.
All right, are there questions? Yes, your questions for the applicant? Should we you'd like to pass that around, because I think that the picture which shows the tint of the sidewalk and how it doesn't follow the master plan.
Can I ask how consistent that tint is throughout the district?
On this street, both sides, they are beige tinted, and it's something that
Thank you, Lisa. Let's just ask the applicant if she can rationalize why the tint in this case, which differs, is in fact. Okay.
We asked him to walk over to a home that was about 2 blocks over, because they had just finished doing construction. It was new construction, and they had just repaved their sidewalk. So we said, well, do what they did, because we figured they went through the whole process, so what they did was right, and we'll just do it that way. So we had to choose that same concrete. I noticed that in some places where concrete was done a year ago, it's kind of exposed to the elements, and it sort of changes. As I took a picture this morning, this is not in the home that's in question. This is in the home we currently live in now, while that's under renovation. And we had done our concrete a couple of years ago, and our neighbor did it this past summer. And if you see the difference here, this is our home now, and it was done in the same color, but this is a new concrete.
Yes,
so obviously, as the years go on, it cures and it gets dirty in a sense and looks beige as opposed to gray. So actually our contractor had also done a few other homes on Richmond Road. So there are like sort of patches of new and old along that street.
I guess from my question maybe to staff, is this then kind of analogous to what happens in, I think, many brownstone historic districts, at least the one I live in called Brooklyn Heights, where sidewalks are supposed to be tinted blue to match kind of bluestone color. Is that the same thing, and is that the same reasoning, same rationale?
Not really. I mean, I think here, because they were originally concrete, it's just sort of trying to keep a consistency. I mean, I think in historic districts where there's bluestone existing, we do ask
Sure.
if someone's
I
requesting
understand.
concrete adjacent to bluestone, we ask that it be tinted. But if there's no bluestone, like on either side of it, we don't usually request that it be tinted.
Well, I think that the highway department does that.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, Diana and then Michael.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, because obviously it is part of the master plan for Douglaston,
Well,
so,
actually, it's not in the master plan that the sidewalks be tinted. That's just been the way we've been regulating it since it was designated.
Oh, okay, because I think the notes say that it's the
yeah,
master
that's the
plan.
confusion. That's why I was just trying to understand. So, because I don't think it's going to actually turn beige. I think it's going to get gray, like gray sidewalks do. So it's not going to look beige, I don't think, in the future. The real question is, how much of the, we're trying to, the idea was that the beige would create sort of the, well, it's a beach area, so to speak, I mean, near the sound, so it's, I guess, that was the thought, I don't know, but how widespread is this paving, and we really have been,
Well, I
the
mean,
district
I
is,
can show you on this street, because I don't have the whole district, but
because we're looking for how distinctive this
Right,
is.
and I think it would have been helpful if you or the applicant had put together some photographic survey so we can understand if there are anomalies to the beige tint, then in that case, if you had provided us with that kind of photographic evidence, this commission would feel more comfortable to allow this, as opposed to asking you to change it. But I think at this point, we're just, either there's not enough information. You've talked about anecdotally that your contractor, the applicant's contractor, had gone and looked at one building and they got approval. I don't know whether they got approval from this commission, but that they did it. But I don't know whether you've made the argument to enough for us to accept it at the color it is. Yes.
I don't know if this is a question for the applicant or
For staff?
for you, maybe for Diana. Are the pavers as a walkway material fairly common?
Are the what?
Pavers, the kind of concrete pavers, a fairly common material for walkways in this district?
they're
Yeah.
used. I mean, there's a variety of materials that are used. That's one of them.
Okay.
Needs a sidewalk going up to that.
Yeah, the
I
walkway.
mean, when we approve them, we ask that they be like a color and a shape of a natural stone, like a cobblestone.
Uh-huh.
Well, had they come to the commission for approval, we probably wouldn't have lied either.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of things that we might not have done.
Right.
So here we are, faced with the issue.
Right. Yes. Are there other questions for the applicant right now? All right. Thank you. I think we'll get back to you if we have more comments. But why don't we take public testimony? Barbara Zay?
Yeah, that doesn't help much.
Barbara Zay, the Historic Districts Council. Landscaping such as the driveway, retaining wall, entrance walkway, and steps are specifically called out as notable features in the designation report for this property. In the Douglaston Historic District, where freestanding houses dominate, these elements are especially prominent. HDC laments the destruction of these features and the precedent that this type of work may set, and is confused that the DOT allowed this work to be completed without LPC permits. Concerning the removal of historic cobblestone street gutters, HDC would like to mention that just this past May, the Commission denied an application at 105 Grosvenor Street to remove street gutters. These gutters once ran east to west along all the streets in Douglas Manor to facilitate water runoff. The few remaining ones still serve their intended function, preventing large puddles and standing water from accumulating in the neighborhood. At 10 Richmond Road, the gutter has been repaved in Belgian block but raised flush with the pavement. At the very least, HDC asks that a more appropriate treatment of the gutter be constructed here. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right. Community Board 11, Landmarks Committee has acted on this, and they said they have no objection to the new pavers in the driveway and therefore recommend approval of this change. All right, do we have any other questions for the applicant? All right, I guess the question for this commission is whether we, since it's a legalization, whether we want to require them to change the paving to a color that is more in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. So that's one thing. The other alternative is if the applicant wants to actually provide us better rationale for accepting this color, then they can do that as well. Yes, Michael, you have, and then we can talk about whether the commission feels that over time, weatherizing of this material is going to have a softening effect where it'll not detract. Yes, do you want to go first? Go ahead.
Is the gutter on the other side, the cobblestone? On the other side of the house, so it's on,
Other side of the street?
no, not on the other side of the street, sorry, on this other side of the house.
Jason.
What's that, the white?
That's the reset cobblestones on,
See, this is the neighbor's house with the gutter coming out.
What's this?
that's there.
That's cobblestone, yeah. That's
But it's
new
not
as
it's
opposed
not
to
really a
what
gutter
originally-
anymore, it's kind of just like a border.
That's what our, front of our home originally looked like with the gutter there. And ours, you couldn't even see the gutter because it was under the crumbling of the old cobblestone. So it's in the original place that it was. This is the new gutter? Yes, which is actually the old gutter he just,
That's the only thing I see, though. Everything else is pretty much what there
And
is.
it might be,
Yes.
it might be possible to tint the concrete post facto. I mean, there are concrete stains that we use on interior concrete that I imagine work on exterior concrete too. You need a good hand on it because it's not something, you can really mess it up if you don't know what you're doing, but it's possible that could be explored by the applicant.
Right, that's better than ripping the whole thing out and doing it again, if you could actually do it in a way that's,
I mean, you're looking to change it from a light grayish, whitish to a beigeish,
Beigeish,
which shouldn't
right.
be a very heavy lift.
yes, Roberta?
I'm just thinking that if with what we have now, I mean, if it's not a color that is consistent with what is everywhere else in this area or in most of the area, then without other information, I think, wouldn't we just feel, I feel like we should
Right, without other
be
information,
denying.
right,
Yes.
right. So I think that one of the things we could do is, I know the way it's written over here is that we deny this, but maybe it's a modification, which is that either they replace currently the gray tint with the beige tint and is consistent with the approvals that we have, and/or they can actually tint what they have right now and bring it to a color.
Well,
Instead of
but I
a
think in
flat
that
denial.
case,
Yes.
yes, they would have to bring, because then they'd have to actually show what they're tinting with, and that is not something that washes off
Well,
after
it's-
3 to
the
6
concrete
months.
tints are like an acid,
No, but
they're an
then we don't-
acid base. They're,
Yeah, I guess they'd have to come back.
And, you don't have a concern that it would, like, darken it or anything? I mean, you think that it is
It will
entirely
darken it.
possible?
It will darken it, but it's the ones we use on the inside are acid-based tints. They're very caustic, so they do penetrate. I don't know, I've never used it on an outside, but I imagine that it could be. And maybe it's true that over time it'll wear out more quickly than it would if it were an interior sealed condition, but by that time the concrete itself might change color a little bit and it all will kind of blend out.
Right, so isn't it more an approval with modification and the, Mark, just a quick question, since this is a legalization, does that create any concerns for us if, in our adoption of?
No, I mean, if we're approving something, then the violation would remain on that element until such time as the applicant, had informed us that it changed, tinted appropriately, we would double check it, so even if
Right, and our staff could look at and make sure that the color is consistent. Is that right? So they have two options, either they rip this up or they actually find a way of tinting it to be consistent with the color. Because I think that's what I think the commission feels appropriate. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, we can close the hearing then. All right. Michael, do you want to do the resolution since you have something to say
Okay.
about 15?
All righty. So regarding 10 Richmond Road in the Douglaston Historic District, the application is to legalize repaving the driveway, sidewalk, and gutter, and enlarging and repaving front walkway, rebuilding entrance steps, rebuilding driveway, and retaining wall without permits. I recommend approval with modifications, finding that the new retaining wall is the same height, similar design materials to the original wall, that the color and texture of the driveway and entrance path pavers recall the appearance of natural stone paving materials used at historic properties in the district, that the width of the entrance path is consistent with other entrance paths in the district, that the brick and bluestone used to reconstruct the entrance steps are typical materials for the steps in this district, that the street gutter and driveway were reconstructed using Belgian block, the original material, and the same material used for gutters and driveway aprons throughout the district, that the installation of new Belgian block curb, while not an original feature, is commonly seen at properties throughout this historic district, that the work did not cause the removal or alteration of any significant historic features, that the retaining wall, paving, and steps do not detract from special historic architectural character of the district, that regarding the sidewalk, the unintended concrete is inconsistent with the beige tinted sidewalks found in the street historically throughout the historic district, and that the presence of the untinted sidewalk transmits streetscape. Therefore, the applicant will work with the staff to either tint it or replace it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this resolution's been passed.